I've compiled another list for this video. If you notice the lights are on in here, I'm going to get to that in a couple minutes. I want to start off with Alexa. Her YouTube channel is Alexa XJ669, something like that. I know she's watched at least a couple of my videos. But anyway, her home state is Michigan, but apparently she's out in California, or that's what she's saying in her videos. But anyway, she's saying that she's a bit upset because she can't find chunky guys in California. Chick, I'm sure if you looked around a little bit, you could probably find chunky guys in California. Well, when I was in California, I've been in California for a long time, but when I was there, I wasn't looking for chunky guys. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't be interested in a guy that was maybe 6 foot tall, but 170, maybe old enough to be your grandpa. Just tossing that out there. You probably not. Now, let me get to the power. Now, I would have been perfectly happy just to, buying about a dozen, solar panels, used ones I could get cheap, putting them up on the roof, charging batteries, running an inverter, running everything in there on a couple of 1 kW inverters. Because I could have done that, but a friend of mine just handed me the money and said, "Hey, go." Well, he lives here too. I think he just doesn't care to live in the heat. Now, for me, I can take the heat in the summertime, but he just doesn't really care for the heat. So he handed me the money, said, "Hey, go deposit in the bank," and then then they pay the power company, through a Visa card, and that's what I did. I paid them, and they turned the power back on. But anyway, I've still got to, go out and find some of these used photovoltaic panels that are fairly cheap. You can get them between $20 and about $80, depending upon who's selling them and the wattage and how used they are and stuff like that. Now, I probably shop around a little bit. I talked to one guy, or did talk to him, just text message him through Facebook. So, I'll probably hit up him and buy 4 over there and maybe 4 from some other place and get some different panels. I definitely take my DC voltmeter out there, point them in the sun, and make sure these panels are putting out at least 12 volts DC. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in them. Now, I've got some ideas on some. I could either take a conventional cooler and power, and run an inverter and power the cooler from an inverter. I've got some ideas on some 12 volt DC coolers. You can use like the fans that you use like on for a car radiator, and they got these like bilge pumps for the like for small boats. Some of those are 12 volts DC. Use those for the recirculating pump for the cooler. I've got some ideas like that. I've actually seen some set up that way. But anyway, if I come up with any workable ideas, I'll post the plans here on YouTube. Now I know you can buy something off of Amazon, but those are small ones, made for RV use. They're made to set on top of a desktop, and you just keep pouring water in there. Now you could take a float and make a gravity feed water system on them. You could do something like that. Now I've posted plans on how you could do that if you want to go that direction. Add a float with a gravity feed water system on there. Let's see, Wrong Lady, Starter, Bunny, and Adam the Woo. Now let me start with Wrong Lady. This is several hours ago. This lady had called me last night, and she said, "This is your Indian customer, Indian from India. This is your Indian customer over on." I'm not gonna give you her exact address, so that you don't go looking for anybody, and like anybody would anyway. But anyway, let's say she said, "This is your Indian lady on 83rd Avenue." So I thought it was one lady because I know 2 Indian ladies, and I thought it was one. Went over to her house. I talked to her. I said, "Well, I said, did you tell me you had a noise in the air conditioner?" And I think she said yes. So we stayed outside. I listened to it for half an hour. I talked to her for half an hour. And I said, "Well, it looks like it's running fine. Why I'm not going to charge you for a full service call. Just pay me for about $30 for just a half an hour of time." And she looked at me. She said, "Well, I didn't call you." I said, "Well, I got your phone number on my phone." So she said, "No, I didn't call you." So I called the number, and it turned out to be another lady. She's just a short distance, maybe about a quarter mile from there. So I called her, and she said, "No, you're not at my house." So I went over there and talked to her. Anyway, the other lady said, "No, you didn't call me. You don't owe me for anything." But I went over. It turned out these 2 ladies know each other. They're not related, but they're both from India, and they both know each other. But anyway, I went to the house. So I've got I've got to get a part tomorrow and go finish the job. I'll do that tomorrow. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Now that starter, I've got a video from earlier today over in the wrecking yard. Me and a friend of mine had pulled a starter off. It's actually for his mom's vehicle. Um, that starter actually worked pretty good. It was the one was in there was all oily. I think I covered that, but anyway, something's leaking on the engine. The engine's nice and clean, but the starter was all packed with oil. What it had done, the oil had seeped into the starter, and it got in under the brushes, and and it worn the brushes down real quick. So what we're gonna do is run it for a couple, for a few weeks, and then me or another guy will stick their hand in there and just see if there's a bunch of oil in the back of the starter. If there is, we probably need to find where the oil's coming from. I'm gonna guess it's probably a valve cover gasket, but the top of the engine looks perfectly dry, so I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, this guy they'd got this vehicle fairly cheap because I'm thinking this guy had he'd had issues with replacing starters and didn't fully understand what was ruining them. But it's definitely oil getting in it because I took it apart and I could see where oil's getting in there and wrecking the bushing the brushes in the back of the motor. Now what I wanted to do was pull it apart and to fix it, but these brushes were worn down where maybe there's a 16th of an inch of the brushes left or something like that, just almost worn down. I said, well, there's no way we can make that work. Plus the fact that time I cleaned all the grease and crap out of there, it'd been a hit. That starter is a real pain in the ass to take out and get back in there. So it's one of those ones that it's just a GM, but it's not one of those ones that hang. If you know the GM vehicles that hang, the starter hangs from the bottom with two bolts. This goes in the flange and the side. It's inside the engine. You almost can't get to this thing. It's some engineer's brilliant idea that, the engineers, the people that design engines, that build cars, don't have to work on them. Let me tell you the old joke about let's see, how does it go? Let's see, no, it was the engineer that caught the mechanic messing with his wife, and the engineer goes, well, I'll fix this mechanic. I'll make his life miserable. I'll design cars that this mechanic has a real bitch working on. I'm not telling a joke, right? But you get the point. Let's see. Oh, Bunny and Beyond Van Life. Now her latest video. I'm pretty sure Bunny's watching my videos, just the content of some of her videos. Bunny and Beyond Van Life, if you want to watch hers. But the content on one of her videos. Tell about not knowing the technical terms of various electrical devices, stuff like that. Because in one of my videos, I talk about different stuff, and I'm sure Bunny's watching my videos. Anyway, Bunny, you want to do that collab video with me? I live just west of Phoenix. Hey, we'll go. We'll meet up. We'll go do that waterfall hike in the White Tanks. That, or if you want to pick out some the mountain peaks, mountain desert trails throughout the valley, throughout the Phoenix metro area, let me know. We'll go do a collab video with you. Let's see. The last one here is Adam the Woo. I was watching a video. Oh, it's one of Adam's friends. Because Adam had a lot of friends. He had a lot of people he did, videos with, collab videos with. He was talking about Adam the Woo's latest video. Apparently, he had some on the SD cards on some of his cameras. This guy has a video. He's still trying to get access into Adam's channel. He wants to post it on his channel. Dude, I would say just go ahead and edit the video to your satisfaction, post it on your channel so it's out there, and then once you get access to Adam the Woo's channel, you can post it on his channel. Now it was David Adam Williams or close to that. Now his father's come out a couple times. They had what was a celebration of life, some type of I'm sure they posted a video here on YouTube, and I definitely need to watch it because I haven't yet. The last video I watched from Adam the Woo was that Grinch one, just that he did just before Christmas when he got back to Celebration, Florida. That's the last one. I'm pretty sure that's the last one he made. Now the other ones have been made by others, other friends of Adam the Woo. And his father had last video from his father was the one where he was talking about the Celebration of Life event that they had in honor of Adam the Woo. I'm sure that's all here all over YouTube. I think I've covered anything. Sometime I still need to get down to Cowpuncher and Hobo Joe and do my tribute videos to Emu, just to be my tributes to. Well, when I go down to Buckeye, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to get some videos from other parts of Buckeye, see if I can get some of the older parts of Buckeye. Like up in Valencia, some of the. Let me get to Buckeye for a second. Now, Buckeye is an old part of Buckeye that's been there for 100 years, and is a much newer part of Buckeye that's maybe 20 years newer or less. But Buckeye, it used to be an old sleepy farming town, but it's now it's like one of the largest, by total number, not by population, but by landmass within the city of limits of the city of Buckeye, one of the largest cities on earth, just because it's kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. Especially if you go west. If you head east, yeah, you're gonna hit the towns, Goodyear. This real towns. You go west, you're gonna go for 100 miles before you hit any other major city. There's Tonopah out there, but Tonopah is actually part of, let's see, Tonopah, Arizona. I don't know if that's legally part of Buckeye or if it's just an area out there. But Buckeye's, yeah, when I go out there, I've got a few videos from Buckeye. When I go out there, I'll do my Adam the Wood tribute video and do some other stuff. Okay. Love y'all. Das Leben ist ein Abenteuer. C'est la vie. And vaya con Dios.